I can't defend the tattoo thing. He did.
All right, let's show him the tattoo.
All right, so let me give you all the details on it. I just can't. I can't, and I won't. His tattoo on the left-hand side, and then the symbol is on the right-hand side. So literally, it's a Nazi symbol. It's called Totenkopf.
Getting a Nazi tattoo made him more popular.
I don't think it made him more popular
among Democrats.
Well, it's official. Democrats are no longer terrified of Nazis. In fact, they're depending on one to deliver control back to them of the United States Senate. So Janet Mills, governor of Maine, she was in a primary against another Democrat, Graham Platner, and they are competing to see who will run against Susan Collins for Maine's Senate seat later this year. So this opens up an opportunity now for someone who actually was leading by a wide margin in the polls already, but really a controversial person within the Democrat Party. And Janet Mills has quit. She stepped aside, and it's his nomination now. So he will be running against Susan Collins. Janet Mills, you might remember her from a clash with Donald Trump at the White House a while back. And Donald Trump at that time predicted that her political career is pretty well over.
I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine?
Oh, she's there.
Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal
Well,
laws.
we are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports.
That's
so you
true.
better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics.
Maine Governor Janet
right.
Mills dropped her Senate bid in a race seen as a litmus test for which candidates can best help the Democrats in this year's midterms. The two-term governor said that while she was eager to carry on the campaign, she simply does not have the financial resources to do so. That leaves oyster farmer and political newcomer Graham Platner with a clear path to the Democratic nomination.
So if you're not familiar with this story, Graham Platner, he is someone who has been exposed for having a Nazi symbol tattooed on his chest, which he covered up not long ago. He spent many years with this tattoo, and he's got some very controversial statements online in his past also that are going to be a big issue for Democrats. But you can imagine if this person was a Republican, how he would be treated by the Democrats and the media. I'm sure he would be on television almost every day talking about his tattoo and his past and how can the Republicans support someone like this. Well, that's all been thrown out, and the Democrats are all in with Graham Platner. In fact, he's been endorsed by Bernie Sanders, AOC, and Elizabeth Warren. So he's their guy, and they're going all in on Graham Platner.
But at this point, if he moves forward, Democrats aren't winning the seat.
I hate to break the news to you, but he's winning the primary by 30 points.
Well, I think that's why he needs to get out.
Getting a Nazi tattoo made him more popular.
I don't think it made him more popular
among Democrats. I sat out here for a year, 2 years, listening to every Democrat at this table say, Donald Trump's a Nazi, Elon's a Nazi, and your party is now in love with a guy with a Nazi tattoo who trained a left-wing paramilitary group and called himself an Antifa super soldier on the internet, and he's going up every day. Good luck getting him out.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on, Scott. Really, like, are you suggesting that, like, a person who wears a Nazi tattoo because he was in the military or whatever is representative of the entire Democratic Party? Is that the...
I'm only reading the polling, Abby. When all this story broke and he started talking about it, he literally got more popular. He's beating the incumbent governor of Maine by 30 points.
You realize that he's running in one state, in Maine, and you're also saying that because of that, he's representative of the Democratic Party. You said this is who they are. Who is they?
They're all
Look
endorsing
at the polling.
him.
Look at the energy.
This is
Look,
not about the
this is
polling.
who they
This is not about the polling.
This
You're
is
not
who they
answering
want.
the question.
Bernie Sanders wants him.
It does
The
not.
beating heart of the Democratic Party, where their energy is, wants the Nazi tattoo guy.
I think if this country is about anything, it's about understanding that every person, me, you, everybody else, has gone dark moments in our history, and we go on.
So you're standing by your endorsement?
Absolutely.
If he were a Republican, I could just imagine what Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, AOC, I just imagine what they would have to say about this person if he was a Republican. But apparently the threat of Nazis and their fear of Nazis has disappeared, and it's no longer an issue for them.
The insurgency of his campaign in Maine forced Governor Janet Mills to quit. But Platner
She's
carries
out.
a lot of baggage. He has a Nazi tattoo, and he opposes ICE.
You have to if you're a
Any
Democrat.
road to a Democratic Senate goes through the state of Maine. And we know the Republican Party's coming for us. We've known it since the beginning. And we're going to continue in many ways just doing what we're doing as we continue to mobilize the people of Maine and organize them and show them that politics is theirs.
Democrats appear to be looking past candidate flaws. Abdul El Sayed is surging in the Michigan Senate race. He wants to defund the police. The party may be lurching to the left.
In some places, a moderate message seems to work well. In some places, a more radical message seems to work well.
But it's unclear if left-wing politics work in a swing state like Maine. Platner secured the backing of progressive icons like Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah, so the left makes a big deal about Pete Hegseth's Jerusalem cross tattoo, but they give a pass to Graham Platner, who had a Totenkopf, which is clearly a Nazi symbol that was sported by Nazi concentration guards. They just give it a pass.
Well, Chris Van Hollen, the Democratic senator from Maryland, he was kind of sloughing that off, saying that at the time, Graham Platner was going through a, quote, bad time in his life.
Okay.
You're just going through a bad time. So he says, you know, he was in the military, he was drinking, he was overseas, and he just happened to choose this certain tattoo when he was at a tattoo parlor, and has been living with this tattoo for 20 plus years, I guess. And then, you know, the question is being raised now, why cover it now? Why haven't you done anything about it up until this point? He's been sporting this tattoo all these years, and now he just recently covered it up. So why now?
Platner's former political director, Genevieve McDonald, wrote that Graham has an anti-Semitic tattoo on his chest. He's not an idiot. He's a military history buff. Maybe he didn't know it when he got it, but he got it years ago, and he should have it covered up because he knows damn well what it means. But he didn't cover it up until like 10 minutes ago. It was announced today that he's covering it up, or did cover it up.
I am not a secret Nazi. Actually, if you read through my Reddit comments, I think you can pretty much figure out where I stand on Nazism, and anti-Semitism and racism in general.
That makes this story even more strange, because had I accidentally gotten a Nazi symbol on my body when I was drunk, and then I realized later that it's a Nazi symbol, I like literally will drop everything I'm doing. I will take time off work to do what needs to be done to either remove it through laser or cover it.
That's the part that's going to be really hard for him to get around. You know, he can say he was drunk when it happened. He didn't know what the meaning of it was, or you know, he can make all the excuses in the world, but why did you never do anything about it until just recently? That's the part that's going to be hard for him to get around. I hope Republicans are taking him seriously, because he does seem to be a good public speaker. He does seem to have a clear message that he's trying to get across to voters. He's a plain speaking person, that's someone that people can understand and relate to, and he appears to be connecting with some of the voters there. So I hope they don't take him too lightly because of his issues. He is gaining in popularity in Maine. Also, it sounds like there's a lot more bad information getting ready to come out about him that we haven't even heard yet. So the Republicans have some dirt on him. I guess they're holding for the right moment, and there's going to be a lot of stuff come out about him that may make it very difficult for him to win, but I hope they don't take him too lightly.
In Portland on this May Day, Graham Platner celebrated a union endorsement from the AFL-CIO.
We did not get an 8-hour workday. We did not get the weekend. We did not get workers' protections because people wrote another letter to a congressman. We got it because workers organized and fought for it. We have built a campaign that is focused on field organizing and building,
AFL-CIO's
frankly,
all in
working
on
class power in the state of Maine by getting labor unions and community groups and civil rights groups and political organizations and just individuals combining in a coordinated and broad-based coalition. That's what we've done. If people want to come in and give us money to help us grow that is fantastic, but that is the game that we're playing.
The NRSC says they're going to go so negative on Platner. I saw one of the spokespeople say he'll have to leave the state. He won't just lose the race.
Leave the state.
He'll have to leave Maine. And they used profanity when they said it. So, Larry, I'm just curious if you think Platner is going to have any problem now taking establishment help. Will that hurt him at all, or his brand will stay clean even if the establishment helps him?
Wait, his brand will stay clean? Oh, you mean his brand of being a populist and an
outsider?
People?
Yeah,
because there's nothing clean about his brand.
Yeah, his brand in terms of being an outsider and not beholden to.
No, absolutely not. He won't have any problem taking that money, and I think the establishment won't have any problem giving him that money. This is a bad man. I'm sorry, I hate to put it in those perspectives, but I have learned, and it's not just I've heard, I know things about this person that will come out. The RNC is not joking about this. And frankly, it goes beyond the Nazi tattoo. This is an indictment, frankly, of where Democrats are right now when this populist radical base gets energized. And it's a real problem that the Democrats need to face. And I think he made a strategic error there in that hit. He said the only thing that, nothing coalesces Democrats together like defeating Susan Collins. Why didn't he say about defeating Donald Trump, about pushing back on MAGA? About why did he make it about Susan Collins? Because say what you will, I think she's still pretty popular there.
Yeah,
well, he's running
against her.
I was shocked that he went after. I know he's running against her, but I think for him to win,
he's got it. Yeah, Kevin, if you were
be the 51st senator to stop Donald Trump, that's how he wins in Maine.
Yeah.
And going after Susan Collins personally isn't the way to do it.
Yeah, that's a great point. He should be talking more about being the senator who can help stop Donald Trump rather than just talking about replacing Susan Collins. But we don't want to give him any good ideas.
You want that visual of a younger, energetic kind of outsider against a kind of tired, older individual there, right? In terms of the split screen. Yeah. I think it's a question of resources right now. And both sides are going to spend a fortune. What Platner needs to do now is to define himself now that it's the general election in the present time, inoculate himself against these attacks that are coming. And he has opened himself up to a number of attacks. You saw a little tease of that with what Janet Mills was running in that primary before she dropped out. Yeah. But it really is a question of who defines who first. Susan Collins is a defined entity.
I assume this will happen. I assume that the RNC will drop some oppo on the eve of the first debate, like the afternoon of the first debates in the evening. They'll drop it in the afternoon. Susan Collins will come in the debate, and the reporters, whoever's moderating, will say, Mr. Platner, you wrote this thing or you said this thing. And Collins will say, oh my God, this is so outrageous. Will Platner just say, I was young and irresponsible. And this is really about the future of Susan Collins. Like, is that
again? I just returned from war. I was 22, 23, and these don't reflect my values now.
Tells you who he is, and it's an insult to men and women who wear the uniform to say, well, I was in combat. What about all the Marines that came back from combat who didn't do and say all of the things that this guy did?
Sure.
And the party of E. Jean Carroll and attacking Donald Trump from something that allegedly happened 30 years ago with very sketchy evidence is now going to say, well, Graham Platner has learned a lot and he's grown a lot, and that's all in his past. Give me a break.
Yeah, suddenly Democrats have found forgiveness for people with bad things in their past. They like to go way back in the past when it comes to Republicans, but in this case, hey, he's just young, made some mistakes. All of a sudden, they're very much the forgiving type.
And one other thing, everybody's thinking that he's going to do well because he's young and vibrant compared to old Susan Collins. Quick, everybody, what's the oldest state in the country. What state has the oldest median age population in the nation? It's Maine.
Iowa. I think it's Iowa.
It's Maine. No, it is Maine. It is 100% Maine.
100%
So
Maine.
I will say though,
old people, old people might not be good at the job, Larry. I'm not sure old people are
they
going to
voted
support
for
old
Biden.
people.
Good point.
Yeah, they did, barely.
You hear that a lot about people saying we need younger people in politics. Politicians are too old. Most voters tend to be elderly people. Older people vote. They vote in big numbers, and young people tend to not vote. So older voters probably more likely to vote for people they can relate to, people closer to their age. So I don't think it hurts Susan Collins that he's quite a bit younger than she is. People may know her, and she's fairly popular there, I guess. She's been elected a few times now. So I don't think that works to her disadvantage. The voters in Maine are probably generally old also. So I don't think that really works against her. But it is refreshing to see this whole thing about Nazis with the Democrats finally come to an end, because now they've kind of stated publicly by endorsing this suspected Nazi, they've kind of told the world now they're no longer afraid of Nazis. They're no longer standing up against Nazis, and they're no longer hopefully going to be calling anyone who opposes them a Nazi. But more than likely, Republicans will still be considered Nazis by the Democrats. But right now, it looks like the Democrats are hoping for a suspected Nazi to save them and return the Senate to the Democrats in 2026. So interesting turn of events, and we'll see what happens. But this could be the guy that the Senate hinges on in the next election. So we'll see what happens. But Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, AOC, they've all endorsed him. So they've come out publicly and said he's their guy. Here they are, ironically, hoping that a suspected Nazi will win the Senate seat in Maine and hopefully be the seat that tips the scale of power into their favor in the U.S. Senate in 2026. So let me know what you guys think. What do you think about the irony of this whole situation? And what do you think Mr. Platner's chances are of defeating Susan Collins and winning a Senate seat in Maine? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video.